a lot of you seem to think that the issue as to why you're not growing muscle is because of your training split and I need this exercise and that's it. I'm not doing rear delt flies or my upper traps need more work. And honestly, your training split is fine. I guarantee what you're doing right now is fine. If you're hitting the muscle twice per week and training properly, you will grow. Your issue is actually how you perform your sets, not the exercises within your program or even how many sets you're doing. Your issue is how you're doing it is wrong. That's why you're not able to grow, and that's one of the biggest things. And I know this because obviously my members in the Gorilla Team will send me their training clips like on a weekly basis, and I'll see for the most part when people join how the general population lift. And for the most part, that it's no wonder like you're not growing muscle because you're lifting weights like a sewing machine, barely like targeting the working muscle, just globally moving weights. And really just not focusing on the right portions of the rep to actually get the most out of it. So for your training split, honestly, a 3, a 4, or a 5 day split will work. Hit the muscle twice per week and train it hard. You will grow, I guarantee. So let's get into how I'd like to see you perform a set so we can get the most out of your training. So what we're going to talk you through now is a flat dumbbell press, and that's the analogy I'm going to use to really uncover the 4 main things I want you to look after when you are in a set. So you've grabbed your dumbbells, you're good to go, and you're going to start the set. The very first thing I want you to focus on is slowing down how you lift. Do not lift weights like a sewing machine. The main thing I want to see is just that you control the lowering phase of every repetition. This is known as the eccentric portion of the rep. So you come down nice and steady to the bottom. Nice and steady. Every time you're lifting, you're nice and steady, nice and controlled. You can stop it at any point. You're in full control of that weight. Obviously, you're pressing back up with maximum aggression, but you're lowering it very gracefully and very under control. Now, why is this important for something like a dumbbell exercise? Well, on a dumbbell exercise, when you've got the weight at the top, your joints are pretty much stacked, wrist, elbow, and shoulder. So there's not that much resistance. There is some, of course there is. But it's like you trying to hang off a wall with a straight arm. You could hang there for a lot longer than you could with a bent arm. With a dumbbell exercise, because it is a blunt piece of weight, this exercise is going to get harder towards the bottom. Why would that be? Well, because the joints are not stacked now. The joints are actually really far away from one another. So what's going to hold the joints in place? Your muscle. So that's why you get a lot of gains from the lengthened position. If anything that is a free weight, anytime you use a barbell or a dumbbell, predominantly you're going to be working it in the lengthened position and you're going to be focusing on the eccentric and the lowering phase. Now, the reason why these pieces of equipment have been around for the longest period of time is that is one of the most optimal ways to use weights to grow muscle. The concentric contraction is good, but you cannot lift nowhere near as much concentrically, i.e. pressing the weight up, as you can lowering the weight down. For hypertrophy, the eccentric and lowering portion of the rep is very, very good for growing muscle. That's why, although as basic as they are and as fancy as machines can be, these need to be in your program. I don't like barbell just because I can't really manipulate my arm path or my shoulders, but dumbbells you can. So I would really recommend you use this. So the very first thing I want you to focus on is the tempo, the speed of repetition, and honestly, just like count steady down. 1, 2, 3, press. 1, 2, 3, press. Around about that. It doesn't need to go on forever. It just needs to be controlled. If you're controlling the weight, then you've got no problem. You're not lifting like a sewing machine. You're able to then focus on the second point, which I'm going to mention, which is the arm path. Now, if this is a chest exercise, the function of the chest is actually, and I'll show you from the bottom, is to bring your upper arm towards the midline of the body. That is the arm path. In something like a lat pull down, the function is to pull the elbow down towards the hip. That's the function of the lat. The function of the chest is to bring the upper arm towards the midline of the body. The reason for this is the attachments of the chest start by the sternum, run across your rib cage, and then insert onto your upper arm. So whenever you're pressing, you're not thinking about pushing the weights up from A to B. From this point forward, you're actually going to think about driving your biceps towards your chest. Bang. That's the finish point. And what a lot of people do when they're doing a lot of the movements, like a chest press, you'll keep pressing until your arm is like out of the shoulder socket just to fully extend. But you don't need to do that. That's not going to work the chest. It's going to work the shoulders. Same on the way down. You're not letting the weight come down. No. You're pulling your upper arms away from the midline of your body to stretch the chest. And if anything, on this movement, you want to really focus on that point because it's harder at the bottom. So you really want to think, I'm going to pull my chest apart to rip the fibers to get them to grow. Focus on the lowering phase. And then on the way back up, focus on bringing the upper arm together. That's the arm path. A lot of you need to be very rigid with this. Keep your shoulders tucked away. Focus on bicep to pec and keeping the tension on the chest. So that's the second point. So we've had tempo, we've had range of motion. The next thing I want you to focus on is, we've had tempo, we've had arm path. The third thing I want you to focus on is range of motion, which is essentially a fancy way of saying go as deep as you can for the joint and the muscle that you're working. So for me, the deepest I can get is really the dumbbells meeting the chest. Any deeper, I'm going to knock them off my chest. That's going to be a problem. If I wanted to get even more range, potentially I could if I tilted these dumbbells a little bit more and brought my elbows a little bit more in at 45 degrees. But to be fair, I'm pretty happy with that range. Like my elbow is well back down by my lats. The dumbbells are coming as deep as my chest. So I'm bringing it through pretty much a full range of motion here. You want to do that across every movement. Get the dumbbells as close to your chest as humanly possible. And lift it deep. The final thing I want you to focus on is your intensity. Intensity is measured by the speed of the last repetition. So as we can see now, if we watch, let's watch the set entirely. So now you're going to measure this actually by the concentric. So as we look here, 1, 2. And again, 1, 2. Steady down, 1, 2. Press, 1, 2. Yeah, a little bit slower that time. Press, 1, 2. 1, 2. And it's probably now this is starting to slow down a little bit longer than 2 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Call it 3. I won't say that's 4. But it's longer. It takes me longer to contract that first rep than it does the last rep. The last rep takes me longer, obviously. That's how you're going to measure to see that you lifted heavy enough. Now for this, it wasn't a bad rep. Maybe I could have gone for another, but I know myself and I know this was actually a PB. So what I did do is at the top, and this is something you can add into your training, is you know you're not going to get another. You could try, but you know you're not going to. Milk the life out of another eccentric portion of the rep. Nice and slow, nice and slow, nice and slow. It's probably about a 4-second eccentric to get the most out of it. So to summarize everything I need you to start doing in your sets, you're going to lift it slow and steady. The reason you're going to lift it slow and steady is because a lot of gains are made in the lengthened position. But also, if you lift it slower, you can really focus on that arm path. Where is the origin? Where is the insertion? Pull apart and bring the two together. Then you're going to make sure that you can go deep enough on everything you do before looking to stack weight, and then stack weight. And make sure your intensity is you're failing within the rep range you've set, and your last repetition is taking around 2 to 3 seconds. 3, maybe 4 seconds to fully contract the weight. That's what I want you to focus on. Do not change your training split. If you have a training split now, stick to it for a minimum of 8 weeks before you change it. If you change it every 2 weeks, you're not going to make progress and you're not going to get to your true potential. So start 2, stick to one program, hit the muscle twice per week, and lift like this. You will grow. Mark my words. So thanks for watching. If you want me to specifically coach you and obviously iron out all of your training, there'll be a link in the description. Come and join us on the inside of the Gorilla Platoon. And thanks for watching as always. I'll see you tomorrow.